In 1968, Bob Gibson posted an earned run average of 1.12, the lowest of any starting pitcher in the modern era of baseball. No one has matched it since. The league saw what he was doing. They watched him dismantle lineup after lineup with mechanical precision. They counted the shutouts, and when it was over, it did not celebrate him. It changed the rules because of him. Officials lowered the pitcher's mound by 5 inches, shrank the strike zone, and quietly rewrote the conditions of the game, all to stop one man from doing it again. Pac Robert Gibson was born on November 9, 1935, in Omaha, Nebraska. He never met his father. The man passed away from tuberculosis 3 months before his son entered the world. His mother, Victoria, was left to raise 7 children alone, working in a laundry and cleaning other people's houses just to keep the lights on. The family lived in crumbling rental homes before moving into the Logan Fontanelle housing projects, a segregated complex reserved for black families on the north side of Omaha. Gibson grew up in a country that had rules about where black people could go, what they could do, how far they were allowed to rise. He learned those rules early, and he spent the rest of his life breaking them, one at a time, with increasing force. At Omaha Technical High School, Gibson excelled in basketball, baseball, and track. But for most of his time there, his skin color was considered too dark for the school baseball team. He turned to basketball instead, became the team's first black player, and showed enough talent to set his sights on Indiana University. Indiana said no. The school informed him that it had already reached its quota of black players. One was the limit. One was enough. Gibson, who had done nothing wrong and lacked nothing in ability, was turned away because of arithmetic that had nothing to do with the game. He landed instead at Creighton University in Omaha on a basketball scholarship. He became the first black athlete in the school's history to play both basketball and baseball at the varsity level. He averaged 22 points per game in his junior year. He batted .333 in his final baseball season. He was, by any measure, exceptional. And still, almost no one came calling. The Dodgers, the Yankees, the White Sox teams had made contact but offered nothing of substance. He eventually signed with the St. Louis Cardinals for a bonus of $4,000, not $40,000, $4,000. Then the Cardinals sent him to their minor league affiliate in Columbus, Georgia. If Omaha had taught Gibson what quiet racism looked like, Georgia taught him what systematic racism felt like from the inside. He could not stay in the same hotel as his white teammates. He could not eat at the same restaurants. He sat in segregated railway cars on the way to road games. And from the stands, fans directed language at him that he had never encountered before. Gibson said almost nothing about it publicly at the time. He absorbed it, he stored it somewhere deep. And it did not make him smaller. It made him something else entirely. When Gibson reached the major leagues in 1959, the Cardinals already had a problem, and his name was Solly Hemus. Hemus was the team's manager. He was also openly hostile toward black players. He used slurs in the clubhouse as a supposed motivational tool. He told Gibson directly that he was not major league material, that analyzing opposing hitters was simply beyond his intellectual reach. Gibson came within one decision of walking away from the sport entirely. What stopped him was a single sentence from batting coach Harry Walker, delivered quietly. "Hang in there, kid. Hemus will be gone long before you will." Hemus was fired midway through the 1961 season. Gibson later called it a whole new world for the black players on the team. Under manager Johnny Keane, he found structure where there had been only obstruction. He won 13 games in 1961, then 15, then 18. In 1963, he added the pitch that would define his career, a slider so sharp and so late-breaking that hitters who had faced it dozens of times still could not square it up. The 1964 season brought everything into focus. The Cardinals were 6.5 games out of first place with 12 games remaining. Gibson went to work. Over his final 10 starts, he threw nearly 90 innings and posted an earned run average of 1.65. He carried his team into the World Series through sheer refusal to stop. They faced the New York Yankees, a dynasty, a myth, an institution. Gibson threw complete games in both Game 5 and Game 7. Pitching on only 2 days of rest in the deciding game, he stood on the mound in the 9th inning with a 4-run lead and refused to leave. His teammates said they could hear him grunting with every single pitch from the 7th inning onward. Manager Keane left him in. Afterward, he explained his decision in 4 words: "I had a commitment to his heart." The Cardinals won. The Yankees would not return to the World Series for 12 more years. But Gibson was not finished. He was not even close to the version of himself that would change baseball forever. And before he got there, the game would first try to break him in two. July 15th, 1967, Busch Stadium, St. Louis. The Cardinals lead Pittsburgh 1-0 in the fourth inning. Roberto Clemente steps into the batter's box. Clemente was one of the most gifted hitters of his generation. He and Gibson had been locked in a rivalry for years, Gibson throwing inside to push him off the plate, Clemente swinging with the full force of his body, spinning around in the box each time. Against Gibson, Clemente batted just over 200, but every at-bat felt like a confrontation. This one ended differently. Clemente connected. The ball left the bat in a direct line toward the mound. Gibson had no time to move. It struck him on the right shin with a sound that witnesses said was audible from the dugout. He dropped to the ground. The team trainer ran out and sprayed a numbing agent on the swelling. Gibson looked down and noticed something unusual. There was a dent in his skin, the exact size and shape of a baseball. He told the trainer he was spraying the wrong spot. Then he asked to keep pitching. The trainer wrapped the leg. Gibson returned to the mound. He walked one batter. He walked another. He induced a fly ball from Bill Mazeroski to end the inning. 3 more batters on a leg with a fractured fibula. The bone gave out completely on his next pitch. Gibson collapsed for the second time. This time, he did not get up. He was out for 53 days. When he returned in September, he posted an earned run average of 0.96 across 5 starts. The Cardinals won 101 games and the pennant. Then came the World Series against the Boston Red Sox, the impossible dream team. Boston's first baseman made a prediction before Game 7. He said Gibson would not survive 5 innings. Gibson allowed 3 hits. He struck out 10. He hit a home run himself in the 5th. The Cardinals won 7-2. 2 months after having his leg shattered on that mound, Gibson won his 2nd World Series Most Valuable Player award. Tell us in the comments, what is the most remarkable comeback you have ever witnessed in sports? Because what Gibson did in 1968 makes even this look like a rehearsal. April 4th, 1968. Martin Luther King Jr. was taken from the world in Memphis, Tennessee. Cities burned, communities fractured. And in the St. Louis Cardinals clubhouse, Bob Gibson sat in silence and felt something he would later describe as reeling the loss of the one man in his lifetime who had come closest to breaking through the walls of racial injustice in America. His catcher, Tim McCarver, came to offer condolences. McCarver tried to draw a parallel between racial discrimination and a different kind of prejudice he had grown up around in Tennessee. He meant well. Gibson listened. Then he said, "That's right, and you were white." Not an argument, a simple statement of arithmetic, and it said everything about the weight Gibson carried into every season of his career. He began pitching that 1968 season with something additional loaded into every delivery. In his own words from his autobiography, he pitched better angry. The numbers that followed are almost impossible to absorb. 22 wins, 268 strikeouts, 13 shutouts, 28 complete games, 304 2/3 innings pitched, and an earned run average of 1.12, the lowest of any starting pitcher in the modern era, a record that has stood for over half a century. Between early June and the 1st of July, he threw 47 consecutive innings without allowing a single run. During his dominant summer stretch, he started 18 consecutive games, completed 17 of them, and posted an earned run average of 0.50. Then came October 2nd, 1968, Game 1 of the World Series against the Detroit Tigers. On the other mound stood Denny McLain, who had just won 31 games in a single season, the first pitcher to do that since 1934. Gibson did not read the scouting report. He struck out 6 of the first 7 batters. He struck out at least 2 in 6 of the 9 innings. The Cardinals' infield never had to make a single defensive play, not one ground ball, not one throw to first base. Gibson handled everything himself. By the 9th inning, he needed 2 more strikeouts to break the World Series single-game record of 15, set by Koufax exactly 5 years earlier to the day. The next 3 batters were Al Kaline, Norm Cash, and Willie Horton. Kaline was a future Hall of Famer. Cash had hit 25 home runs. Horton was an all-star with 36. Strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. Gibson told reporters afterward that he had heard the crowd roaring in the 9th but had no idea why. He had not been watching the scoreboard. When someone explained that he had just broken the all-time record 17 strikeouts in a single World Series game, he responded with the calm of a man who had never seriously considered any other outcome. He said, "I was just doing what I knew how to do." Broadcaster Vin Scully once said that Gibson pitched as though his car was illegally parked. No wasted motion, no hesitation, one pitch after another, powered by something that never fully cooled. Do you think any pitcher in today's game could produce a season like 1968? Leave your answer in the comments, because baseball itself decided the answer was no. There is a particular kind of pain that comes not from failure, but from being close enough to touch something and watching it slip away. Gibson felt it in the 7th inning of Game 7 of the 1968 World Series. He had dominated Detroit in Games 1 and 4. The Cardinals led 3-1. They needed one more win. Gibson was on the mound. The score 0-0 in the 7th, when a fly ball went up in center field. Curt Flood, one of the finest defensive outfielders of his generation, and one of Gibson's closest friends on the team, misjudged it. He broke the wrong way. The ball fell past him. 2 runs scored. Detroit added more. The Cardinals lost the game and the series. Gibson never publicly blamed Flood, but he admitted later that this loss stayed with him longer than any record he ever set. He said the earned run average of 1.12 was not what he remembered most about 1968. What he carried was the one game he did not win. That winter, Major League Baseball lowered the pitching mound by 5 inches and reduced the strike zone. The changes were a direct response to his dominance. Informally, they were called the Gibson rules. He adapted. He won 20 games in 1969. He won 23 in 1970 and earned his 2nd Cy Young Award. But time does not stop. By the mid-1970s, the injuries mounted and the sharpness faded. On September 1st, 1975, the Cardinals honored him before 48,000 fans. The governors of Missouri and Nebraska attended. The President of the United States sent a letter. 2 days later, pitching in relief against the Chicago Cubs, Gibson faced a reserve player named Pete Lecoq on a full count. Lecoq drove the pitch over the right field wall for a grand slam, the only one of his career, and the last home run Gibson ever gave up. Gibson walked off the mound without a word. He retired shortly after. A promised business opportunity from the team's ownership never arrived. Coaching positions were slow to come and quick to disappear. For years, he watched the game he had transformed from the outside. In 1994, he published his autobiography. He called it Stranger to the Game, a title that said more than any statistic ever could. Was that a fair ending for a man who changed the game itself? Share what you think in the comments below. Bob Gibson was voted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 1981, his first year of eligibility. His number 45 was retired by the St. Louis Cardinals. 2 World Series championships, 2 Cy Young Awards, 2 World Series Most Valuable Player Awards, 9 Gold Gloves, 3,117 career strikeouts. He is the only pitcher in history to win Game 7 of the World Series twice. In his later years, Gibson remained in Omaha. He hosted a charity golf event, worked with an organization that supported former players who had fallen on difficult times, and quietly mentored young pitchers. By most accounts, away from the game, he was warm, funny, and generous. Joe Torre, who once described Gibson's mound presence as hateful, later received a signed photograph from his old friend. The inscription read, "Love, Bob." In the summer of 2019, Gibson was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He passed away on October 2nd, 2020, at 84 years old. The date was not lost on those who followed baseball. It was exactly 52 years to the day after he struck out 17 Detroit Tigers in Game 1 of the World Series. Now, return to where this story began. Back to the number 1.12, back to the league that rewrote its own rules because one man made the game seem unplayable for everyone else. The mound came down, the strike zone shrank. Gibson won 20 games the very next year anyway. This is not only the story of a pitcher, it is the story of a person who met every limit the world set in front of him, physical, racial, institutional, and converted each one into something harder. A boy who needed a doctor's permission to go outside became the reason baseball had to rethink the dimensions of its own playing field. Josh once wrapped his 3-year-old brother in a quilt, carried him to the hospital, and promised him a baseball glove. The boy recovered. Josh kept his word. And what grew from that promise has never been repeated. If this story moved you, share it with someone who deserves to hear it. Like the video if you think Gibson belongs in any honest conversation about the greatest pitchers in history. And subscribe because there are more stories like this one waiting, and every one of them earned its place.